Joy News, we are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. Our lead stories this are fears of another shutdown of the Kolebu Renal unit as the facility piles up another 2 million cedi debt. A similar situation which forced it to shut down last year for close to 4 months. Also, shake-up in government looms as Akufo-Addo is set to announce ministerial reshuffle. And John Mahama proposes new legislation to halt activities of illegal mining on cocoa farms, promising involvement of traditional authorities in granting permits to miners. And campaign team for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia takes on NDC for attempting to create acrimony in the NPP, insisting at no point has Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia rebelled against his boss.
The NDC attempts to create a wedge between President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia by saying that Bawumia has deserted Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has ostracized Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has betrayed Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has taken himself out. They are all lies.
In the coming days, President Akufo-Addo is expected to announce a major shake-up in his government to reflect the vision of the party's flag bearer, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Joy News is learning a meeting was held today at the Jubilee House to finalize the names that are expected to be reshuffled. The move comes amidst public demands, even from his party, to make changes in his ministerial appointment. Here is the General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodia, a few months ago.
My last question goes to the appointees of this government. Sebi,
if you are a CEO, deputy, NMC, and you believe you can no longer work for government, resign and let others do the work if you are not included in the reshuffle.
So we a minister, we a CEO, we a deputy, we a MMDC. Now say we reshuffle in the so. Now now
it is time for a change, for others to continue the work. If new people come and work, we will have victory in 2024 election.
But former minority leader Haruna Idrisu says any reshuffle signals a president who is bound to pressure from the party.
If Akufo-Addo ever reshuffles, then probably he's yielding to pressure from his party, because he himself has always said that he doesn't believe in reshuffle. But at least everywhere in the world, you add new impetus and new blood to government, and you make ministers too comfortable if you leave them at particular positions for a long period of time. I'm always for that. I mean, I'll tell you that I worked at the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Communication. My finest hour in public service was my work at the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. I'm writing my memoir. I'll share it with you. It's titled Shadow in Darkness. And one of the things I've captured in the memoir was a visit to Kolebu Mortuary, when a mortuary man looked at my face and said, at that time, poor conditions of service. So I went to the mortuary and the mortuary man said, you Haruna, Ebola body I carry, AIDS body I carry, look at my pay. That's a polite way of sharing with me that he was going through poor conditions of service. Worthy lesson to learn. Very polite. He was simply saying that, look at my pay, look at my conditions of service. That informed my decision, supported by President Mahama at the time, to give health workers in this country their first ever codified conditions of service. It happened at the NDC, and I'm proud of that record.
Insiders indicate that the forthcoming reshuffle will be extensive, and it was tactfully postponed to accommodate the completion of the New Patriotic Party's presidential and parliamentary primaries. Presidential correspondent Elton Brobe has details on this. Elton, tell us about this meeting.
So, we know that there was a meeting this morning at the Jubilee House, and the meeting touched on the upcoming ministerial reshuffle. And we also do know that there was consensus as to where to go and when they should come. And we understand from people who are close to the president that there could be a statement or a press release from the office of the president this weekend or Sunday announcing what they want to describe as a major reshuffle that will not only touch the ministers, but maybe extended to the leadership of parliament, and of course those who are serving as chief executive officers of some state-owned enterprises. So this is what we are picking, and we are just in waiting for that official communication from the presidency.
Do we know the areas that are to be affected by this reshuffle?
So, per what we have been told this morning, we should be expecting some changes in ministers, cabinet ministers. We should also expect some changes in the majority leadership in parliament, the front bench, and then some people who are also serving as chief executive officers for state-owned enterprises. Now, for example, I mean, we do understand that the vice president, who is the MPP's flag bearer, is most likely to announce his campaign team on Monday. And we are told that the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Butcher, is likely to be named as the campaign manager. He is a substantive minister, and that clearly an indication that somebody will have to take over as the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. The Foreign Affairs Minister is unclear whether she will continue to hold to that office as Minister of Foreign Affairs and still continue to campaign for his election as General Secretary of the Commonwealth Organization. If there is a need for somebody to give full attention to the ministry, we are told that somebody will take over from that ministry, and that the name we are hearing potentially will affect the majority leadership in Parliament. There are also people who also be named as campaign team of the vice president. They are already serving in government. They will have to give way. There are those who contested and won the parliamentary primaries. They are serving as chief executives of state-owned enterprises. The claim is that they should focus on their parliamentary ambition. Overall, this, from what we are told, is about Bawumia-inspired reshuffle. They need people who will dedicate their attention to the last few months of the Akufo-Addo administration to ensure that there is no divided attention in terms of executing the government mandate ahead of the 2024 elections.
Elton, thank you for that information. Now, still staying with the governing party, the campaign team of the MPP flag bearer has strongly rejected claims of betrayal by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia towards President Akufo-Addo. According to communications director for the team, Nana Komia, the NDC's effort to put Bawumia against the president futile, as Bawumia remains aligned with the current government's achievements and challenges. These remarks respond to the NDC's assertion that Bawumia's betrayal of Akufo-Addo came in his recent public lecture, revealing his vision for the country if elected.
Why this? Even before Bawumia became flag bearer, you see, this is something that you have to take. Even before he became flag bearer, then 10 people who competed for the NDC flag bearership. Did you hear the NDC talk about any of them? There are 10 of them. Yeah. Did you hear the NDC talk about any of the 10, apart from Bawumia?
Why are they particular about him?
So that shows you that there's already a fear.
You think he's their nemesis or something?
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise, why would they be spending their resources out of 10? Why would you be spending your resources attacking and undermining one? Why would you do that? When you have a football team and all the defenders are attacking one person, then you know that they know that he's a danger man.
Exactly. So what next? What should we expect? He has said the ball rolling.
What you should expect is that after all this propaganda dies down, the ideas will come up. These things, they are just, what do you call it? There's a term for it. Not very... red herring. That's what I was. These are all red herring. They will die off. And the core of the man's presentation, the vision, will come up. And we want the NDC to compete on the ideas. If they're going to compete on this red herring, we will tell them that your man has been president. Satan Mahama said he wasn't going to make any promises anymore. And then he said that there's no money, people should give him a honeymoon. But he's promising to pay assemblymen. He's promising to buy chicken for people to rear and sell the eggs. He's making all kinds of aid. He's going to get more interest.
Should we be expecting more promises from your end?
Promises in terms of ideas to transform. Bawumia has said, at the speech that we've got a lot of social policies, health insurance, leave, free education, blah, blah. It's time to consolidate, review and consolidate, but focus now on growth. That's what he has said. And you're going to see a lot of pro-growth policies.
What message do you have for Ghanaians from the Bawumia camp, the lecture, and what we should expect going forward?
My message is that the NDC attempts to create a wedge between President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia by saying that Bawumia has deserted Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has ostracized Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has betrayed Akufo-Addo, Bawumia has taken himself out. They are all lies. Bawumia has never said anywhere that he's not part of the government. Indeed, you just have to look at his speech. The first 1.5, which is the peak listening period, was on the work of the government. It will not wash. The call will come out after the propaganda dies down, and it will be a contest of ideas. And in that contest, John Mahama cannot win.
Hospital says it will continue to charge the current fees for dialysis services despite a deficit of 400 cedis in each section. This has already built up to a debt of 2 million cedis in the past 3 months. Director of Medical Services at the hospital, Dr. Usu Sechere, says Parliament would have to approve any increment before it can be implemented. This comes after the chief executive of the hospital reviewed its accumulated 2 million cedi debt just 3 months after the government settled a debt of 4 million cedis. We'll hear from the medical director shortly, but first here is a report by my colleague Prince Kuduga of our health desk.
Very common emotions last year as the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital was shut down due to an accumulation of debt in excess of 4 million Ghana cedis.
We are now engaged with government, with the ministry, with other stakeholders to see how quickly we can, find the resources to advance. Because at the moment we are sitting in a 4 million cedi hole. If we are to operate at our current capacity, which is about 2,000 dialysis sessions every month, then it means that we are going to accumulate about 961,000 cedis of debt every month, in addition to the 4 million cedis that we have already. So this is financially unsustainable.
The hospital was forced to reverse an increment in its dialysis charges imposed last year without recourse to Parliament. The patients said the high cost of treatment makes it difficult for them to follow the prescribed sessions.
You are becoming a burden to the society. You pick a phone, you want to call your friend. He knows you are coming to ask for money, so you will not even pick.
Wow.
You pick a phone, maybe you want even to say hello, maybe there's an information you are trying to ask him. He will not even answer it. Later on, he will call back and say, oh, child, I saw your call, now this Samuel. It's not true. Because he knows you are coming to ask money. And it's true. When you call the person, it's money.
These prompted series of conversations, including Joy News' thought leadership event on the matter, where the presidential advisor on health promised the debt will be cleared.
We are waiting for what they are supposed to bring and then to be worked on as quickly as possible. The money is supposed to be provided by the Ministry of Finance, isn't it?
Yes. Okay.
So Dr. Mpuma has to put everything that he is doing, that is being asked to do, as quickly as possible in place. If I were him, I would use 24 hours to put everything in place and present it. Yeah, so they will present it.
You've already presented.
And
no, you're free to talk because this is direct.
I've told him what to do.
Yeah.
And then quickly, I'm sure I know what normally such things are very dear to the heart of the authorities. And it will be done.
That happened in November 2023, and in just 3 months, about half of that debt has been accumulated again. Chief Executive of the hospital says delays in approving new rates is seriously impacting its ability to continue providing dialysis treatment.
We are grateful that the government has paid that 4 million cedis debt. But then what you should remember is that we were asked to reopen. Now, when we reopened the outpatient unit, you should know that the fees are still not being adjusted. So from, for some time now, every patient that we dialyze, we are under recovering by as much as almost 400 Ghana cedis. So as we speak today, all the patients that are on dialysis today, every session that we have, we are under recovery. in terms of the cost. So we are still building a debt. You see, what you need to do is multiply the number of sessions you've done by 400, and then that will give you the under recovery. That's the view. That is, I've been seeing the millions. I'm sure by now to be over 2 million.
For now, the unit relies on the benevolence of individuals and organizations to help keep the facility running. One of such donors is the Jospong Group of Companies, which donated 500,000 cedis towards the treatment of patients there yesterday.
Let's now listen to the medical director of the hospital, Dr. Owusu Setre, in an interview with my colleague MFR Pau on the Midday News earlier this afternoon.
That when you have your own money to do things, you can call the shots. If you don't have money and you still need to offer the service by going into contracts, then some of these things will come up. I think a lot of discussion have gone on with regards to that contract bit. And I believe we can go in and out, and it's still not going to change the fact that there's a bill of 380 cedis per each session of dialysis that needs to be looked at. Until the contract runs out or until we buy ourselves out of it, which we have looked at, we don't think it is in our interest because of the cost implication.
But
we
where
will
are
have
we?
to
Where are
look
we,
at
Dr.
where
Setre?
to be able to at least continue to offer services without interruption.
Okay. And I know you were pushing for parliamentary approval of new fees and charges. Where are we with that push?
We have made our case to Parliament. I know they also have to go through their own systems and then processes to be able to approve of it. I think if there is any pressure that could be brought to bear, it could be directed at Parliament so that we look at the cost realistically. And more importantly, to also look at alternative ways of funding dialysis.
To other stories, another strike action looms on the labor front as the University Teachers Association of Ghana vote to take a final decision on whether to lay down tools in demand for better conditions of service. Both UTAG and the Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana, having two separate petitions to government late last year, called for an upward adjustment of the allowance. UTAG has since triggered a voting process on all campuses across the country to take a decision on when to proceed on strike. We'll get to know the outcome of the voting shortly, but first let's listen to National President of UTAG, Professor Mamudu Akudugu, on what their demands are.
It was all about the slow pace of our negotiations of our conditions of service. But the National Executive Council of UTAG met, I think, last week and took a decision to trigger the process as per our constitution for a strike action. And so that occasioned the need for branches to vote.
What exactly are the demands?
We submitted our proposals for a comprehensive conditions of service. And so there are a number of items that are contained in those proposals. We have what we call the payroll items, which are supposed to come from the government of Ghana. We have non-payroll items, which are supposed to be paid from the university's internally generated funds. And we also have what we call the non-monetary items. And so these items constitute the conditions of service that we submitted proposals to our employer for consideration. And these conditions of service are for both UTAG and then TUTAG. And so we've been engaging on this over the last 1 year. Anybody at the end of the month, when you take your pay slip, there are a number of items there, your basic salary, your any allowances that are due you. Those are the items that
you
that
mean the usual fuel coupon, vehicle allowances, and all of that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, vehicle allowance, fuel, maintenance, security, and those items. Yeah. So those are the payroll items. Those items that appear on your payroll at the end of the month when you take your salary.
Professor Mamudu Akudugu has joined us via Zoom for more on this. Grateful for joining us. What did your various chapters agree on from the voting process?
Good evening to you and to your viewers and listeners. Yeah, we as reported, we triggered the process for the declaration or otherwise of an industrial action. And today was the deadline for all branches to vote, and voting has been completed. The Independent Elections Committee of the National Executive Council of UTAC is currently compiling the results across the branches for the National Executive Council to consider what should happen next.
So you haven't had some of the results to understand where it's going?
Yes. What we are getting is not from official sources yet.
Okay.
So I want to wait until the official source. Yeah.
What will be the next line of action?
Let me say that we've made some significant progress since the process was triggered for the voting across the campuses to determine whether the National Executive Council should declare a strike or not. The Minister of Education, the Honorable Minister of Education, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Finance, the Honorable Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations have intervened, and we've had some fruitful engagements since Monday, and we have made some significant progress. So the next line of action will be for NEC to review the progress made, especially this week, and to determine that, given this progress made, what should be done. But so that is where we are. We will hold a NEC meeting shortly to take a final decision, given the progress made.
But this progress was made before the election was, the voting process began today, isn't it? So what if the general membership decide that let's go on strike? What would you do?
There was the information that they voted for was on the slow pace of the negotiations and the need to get to conclude it for implementation as soon as practicable. And so that was what was voted on. And so if after the vote and the processes, what we are asking to be done is done, I think general members understand that what we want is improved conditions of service and not necessarily about going on strike.
Okay.
We love our job. We want to continue to keep the students in the lecture theaters. We want to maintain the academic calendar and all that we need to do to be able to continue to push the transformation agenda of the country. And so we are committed to that process. And once government shows commitment to meeting our demands, general members, I'm sure, will at least agree with us as a National Executive Council if the decision is made that progress has been made, and so we should do otherwise.
All right, grateful, Prof, for joining us here. Still on the labor front, organized labor says its fight against the imposition of value-added tax on electricity is far from over. The group today announced that it was suspending its planned street protest after receiving an official letter from the Ministry of Finance informing labor unions of government's intention to suspend the policy pending further engagement. Although labor unions say they are calling off their planned industrial action, union leaders say they will be turning the heat on Parliament to review any legislation that gives backing to the imposition of VAT on electricity.
In a sharp departure from its planned protest against government's imposition of a 15% value-added tax on electricity consumption above lifeline levels, the Trades Union Congress says it will put on hold the industrial action. Dr. Yauba is Secretary General of the group.
January 2024, to withdraw the letter and warn authorities that if by that time the Minister for Finance has not given the directive to ECG and NESCO to stop the implementation of VAT on residential customers, we will advise ourselves. On the 2nd of February 2024, the leadership of organized labor met here, and we resolved that there will be a nationwide demonstration on the 13th of February 2024. On the 7th of February, 2024, government announced the suspension of the implementation of VAT on electricity consumption by residential customers. The leadership of organized labor has received a formal letter from the Ministry of Finance informing us of the new directive to ECG and NETCO. We would therefore like to inform our members that the planned demonstration scheduled for 13 February 2024 has been suspended until further notice. We thank all our members for the support, the solidarity, and the unity that we have exhibited at the labor front.
But organized labor has an additional message that the fight is far from over. Union leaders say they will soon turn the heat on Parliament to review any legislation giving legal backing to the formulation of any policy that will allow the implementation of value-added tax on electricity.
That law must be repealed, and parliamentarians might hear us that it's a very bad law and it must be repealed.
Some say you should have used the demonstration to make that statement.
Well, demonstrations was to stop the implementation of the directive, and we have achieved that objective. Now we have to make sure that no other government comes and goes back to it. And how do we do that? By making sure that the law is repealed. And it's a very bad law, and the parliamentarians have to answer to us, why do you pass such a bad law? That's the next level we're going to get.
So our call-off is also a suspension.
So we're asking for a withdrawal.
Yeah, we're asking for a withdrawal, but we realize that there is also a legal aspect to it. You know, it's a law. It was passed in 2013. So we now have to go back to Parliament for the repeal of that law. That is where we realized that there were legal aspects of the whole issue.
All that we wanted was stoppage of the implementation of such a VAT on the usage of electricity in our homes. And I think we've achieved it. So far as the Ministry of Finance has communicated to ECG and NETCO and to us that it's suspended the implementation pending further engagement. That pending further engagement, we are not interested in it. So far as it's suspended, we are also suspending our actions. If they resume the implementation in any way, we'll also resume our actions.
But is it that you're not open to dialogue? The finance ministry has always called you to dialogue.
Yes, we know the things that we can easily dialogue on, but so far as this issue, it's embedded in Act 870, which was enacted by Parliament. We have to target that act and see how we can actually remove that aspect from the.
This is still the Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the National Democratic Congress has promised to probe the circumstances leading to the indebtedness of the produce buying company when the party is returned to power. According to the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, his previous government left the company in a profitable state, attributing the present condition to mismanagement. Addressing some members of the cocoa farmers cooperatives in Kumasi, he revealed the willingness to prosecute persons found culpable by the investigations. Nana Ojima has more in the following report.
According to the former president, the produce buying company in 2016 had a 30% share in total cocoa purchase and haulage in the country, but the company is unable to fulfill its obligation in recent times. About 6 financial institutions were successful in securing a court order to prevent any sale or transfer of assets of PBC Limited, including its headquarters. The order was secured following the failure of PBC Limited to honor its debt obligation to the 6 banks. Mr. Mahama, who is saddened by the situation, compares the present state of the company to his term in government.
In 2016 crop year, 2016-2017 crop year, the produce buying company, which has existed for God knows how many decades, from Nkrumah's time, and has been one of the principal stakeholders in the cocoa industry. In 2016, PBC's share of cocoa purchases and haulage amounted to 30% of the total cocoa produced. Today, PBC's share is 0. And as I speak to you, the banks are auctioning PDC's assets because they owe the banks and they cannot pay. The workers of PBC have not been paid for about 8 months to 9 months, and it is not known when they would even receive their salary.
Meanwhile, the NDC flag bearer at a meeting with some cocoa farmers assured of willingness to conduct a full-scale investigations into the matter and prosecute persons culpable.
It is instructive to note that 2 of the directors who have led PBC into the ditch could see that they had finished the company, and so they were looking for new careers. So they went and stood as parliamentary candidates on MPP ticket. And God doesn't sleep. Happily, they lost. Happily, they both lost. And we thank God that He made them lose. Because you cannot behave like this. Run a profitable company like this into the ditch, and then now you want to bail out and go to Parliament. They have to stay and wait for accountability. When we come, we will probe what happened to PBC and hold them to account.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Well, the minority in Parliament say foreign investors should back off any potential takeover of AirtelTigo without the requisite parliamentary approval. The minority contends that any takeover of AirtelTigo with foreign investors will be an international agreement which must be subject to Parliament oversight. Deputy Ranking Member on the Communications Committee, Samuel Nate-George, says Communications Minister Ursula Owusu-Ekufo must bring any such deal to sell AirtelTigo to Parliament immediately.
Well, we want to use this opportunity to serve notice to any foreign investor that they must be very careful of signing any deals. Because if they think that they are buying any asset that belongs to the Ghanaian people without the proper parliamentary approval, we can assure them that that agreement is going to be null and void in any court of law in any jurisdiction of this country. Because the Constitution of Ghana is clear. If you go and buy stolen goods, you can't say that because you bought stolen goods from the brother of the owner of the goods, it validates it. If the laws of Ghana say that when you are buying a state asset and you are an international company, it must come to Parliament, and you decide to go and buy from a minister without coming to Parliament, well, buyer beware, because Parliament would hold the minister responsible, and I'm confident that the next John Mahama government in 2025 will not respect any such agreements. And so people must be very careful. But as a committee and as the minority on the communication side, we will properly brief the media next week on this matter. But we want to state for the record that as far as we are concerned, you cannot sell AirtelTigo. 1, because you've not officially informed Parliament that you have bought AirtelTigo. 2, if you are selling AirtelTigo to an international company, it must come to this house. We saw President Kufuor sell Vodafone. He came to this house. Ursula Owusu cannot become law unto herself. And so we would expect, and as a committee, we would demand saying that she must respect the directive of Mr. Speaker and come and brief the committee on issues involving the status of AirtelTigo and any potential deal. Because we need to be very careful. As a committee, we are worried. The minority side on the committee, we are worried especially about what happens to the debt. Because AirtelTigo owes a tower company in Ghana almost to the tune of 200 million Ghana cedis. If you say you are not going to pay, what happens to that tower company? And if you bring in this new investor, is the tower company supposed to continue offering services to the new investor? What happens? Who pays it? Are they going to move that debt to the taxpayer, you and I, because somebody has mismanaged a private entity and government has gone to take on that? There are questions that have to be answered. And so, rest assured, there are all kinds of things we are hearing relative to that deal. It won't happen.
Sam Georgian says AirtelTigo has some financial issues, including substantial debt, which makes it even imperative for Parliament to scrutinize any deal to sell it off.
Well, we all know that when it comes to international agreements, they must come before Parliament. don't forget that we have raised issues on the floor of this House with the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Esla Owusu Akufo. First and foremost, if you remember my running battle with her on whether the government of Ghana had bought AirtelTigo, how much they had bought AirtelTigo for, and what all of that, when she came and said the government had not bought it, even at the time Airtel had told its shareholders in India that they had sold AirtelTigo. Subsequently, she came out and said she bought it for $1. Later, we are hearing $25 million. Now, the question is, all of these have considerations for the debt of AirtelTigo. I know that AirtelTigo has debts on its books in excess of $100 million. So, if you are selling AirtelTigo to somebody and the debt is in excess of $100 million, what is the value of the asset? And then what is the value of the debt? Are you selling the company with the assets and the liabilities, or are you just selling the liabilities, the assets alone without the liabilities? Then who takes over the liabilities? Because those liabilities have to be settled. Airtel owes banks. They owe service providers like the tower companies. We have seen the announcement that says that some JV has been entered into. Don't forget that sometime in November last year, a member of the committee, I think the Honorable Lydia Lamisi, if I'm not mistaken, asked a question that brought Esla Owusu to the floor of the House to give answers on the issue of the transaction. And in contributing to that question, when I rose, I requested of the Speaker that the Minister ought to brief Parliament on what the matter was. The Speaker directed the Minister to brief the Committee of Parliament on Communications on the status of the deal. The Minister promised and pledged to do so. She has not done so yet. We have heard that there's this JV with Hanam or Hamam Investments and all of that.
Now, still staying in Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Bagbin, has charged the Electoral Commission to listen to the voice of the people and do what is right. He said the Electoral Commission will only have the backing of Parliament if they conduct their work in the right direction. The Speaker said this when he addressed the University of Development Studies Hamatan School in Tamale.
The UDS Hamatan School, organized by the UDS Institute for Interdisciplinary Research, is a platform that brings together intellectuals and experts from diverse fields to deliberate on the issues of development of the country and proffer solutions to these issues. This year's school brought together security and development aspects, among others, to deliberate on the theme Accountable Governance, Violent Extremism, and the 2024 elections. The Speaker, Alban Sumana Bagbin, warned that the Electoral Commission will be on its own if it's seen as pushing the agenda of someone.
And so if the Electoral Commission does its work properly, we are then enabled to pass the law. Electoral Commission doesn't pass laws. Laws are passed by Parliament. So they should take note. This is a very important occasion. That's why I'm saying all this. They should make sure that they listen to the good people of Ghana and do what is right, and we will support them. We even go out of our way to source for resources to empower them to do what is right. But if they think they are for any other person's agenda, Parliament will not be with them.
The Northern Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu, said with the negative impact of election-related violence, there was the need for political actors to be cautious when beating war drums prior to elections.
Election-related violence cannot be taken for granted. No matter when and where it happens, election-related violence, be it before, during, and after elections, has a negative impact on the electoral process and the democratization of our country. Election violence leads to the destruction of economic infrastructure and scares away much needed foreign investment. Once the country is engulfed in violence, Not only will investors shy away from the country, but those already in the country are most likely to relocate to safer environments. Even the possibility that a pending election is likely to turn violent can influence potential investors to adopt a wait-and-see attitude, possibly to invest only after peaceful elections are over.
The Vice Chancellor for the University of Development Studies, Professor Saidu Al-Hassan, said the UDS has established a research fund with a seed money of $10,000 to undertake research.
Honorable Mr. Speaker, the fund aims at promoting research work in various fields, including basic and applied sciences, social science and humanities, as well as the health sciences. How much is the fund? Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to announce to you that with all the checks we have done, the university is starting with a $100,000 research fund.
All right, this is still Johnny's Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Showbiz. Do stay. All right, welcome back. Let's do Showbiz now. And the queen of it, you know what I mean. Becky is here. Hi, Becky, how you doing?
I'm all right.
It's a Friday night.
It's a beautiful Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I just came on Monday.
Yeah.
I just had an accent on Monday.
Yeah, now it's gone.
It's Friday. And I'm thinking, where did the accents go?
It's not made for you, you know.
But it's a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful evening to talk about a new movie that you should expect on the 6th of March. It's called Ever. What's interesting about this movie is that it highlights the impact of domestic violence and how to curb it in our society. We spoke to some of the cast of this particular movie that you should be expecting on the 6th of March. This movie is it's a laudable idea.
Very.
Domestic violence is something that we should throw more light on, highlight it, and the impact and the effect it has on women, children, also men. Yeah.
But I mean, why would a man decide to beat the wife? And the way I saw,
not just
being depicted
you
in
see, the problem
just,
is that not
we have
just
other women
beating
also,
men, and we
other.
don't talk about it enough.
So I mean, I was saying to myself that, I mean, how would any man or woman decide to maltreat the spouse in that way, such that your spouse might be thinking of killing him or herself? I mean, how?
I think bottom line, what we're supposed to be doing is to be spreading more love and have more conversations. We've bottled up things in our hearts, and that's like too much going on with us. And so we have to learn how to spread more love and more love. That's why the next story is about to talk about love. We're talking about love classics. I want you to fall in love at least before Valentine's Day. And so we're giving you love classics. Ajete Annan actually picked out the movie that you should be looking out for this month of love. Perfect Picture is still, I think, 10 years on. It's on Netflix. You can just go out there, watch it, fall in love all over again. Brace, before we go, we have a playlist update, and it's also about love. And one of the gentlemen that has giving us, love songs over the years, Kwabna, he's got this one. He calls it Afraid to Lose You. Love you. I've fallen in love. I think I love Derek.
Derek, yeah.
Yeah. The name sounds like...
I'll support you. He's a very, very romantic guy.
Very romantic guy.
He's a loving person.
And
really.
he's Christian enough.
Exactly. So he will pray for you.
We pray, then we love. Derek. Well, for those of you who don't know Derek, he's actually the director.
Yeah, but I love how you put it.
Derek.
You pray and then you love.
I'm in love.
All right. I can hear you say it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the news. Remember to brush your teeth day and night with Pepsodent because every smile matters. I'm so in love. Please spread the love because love is what we need. And we're spreading the love here on Joy.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Jackie.
No, my name is not Jackie.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that?
Yeah, you
Becky,
did.
Forgive me.
I'm Becky.
Well, there's this guy in Takwa. He's called Engineer Edu.
And
he works with engineers and planners. He says he loves you.
Oh, engineers
and planners, yes. So on that note, we say thank you for being a part of us. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Up next is Prime Business with Emma Davis. Have a good weekend.